wake of Charlottesville, I have seen quite a few status updates about all of us just needing love and hugs, prayers, and understanding and whatnot. But I want to be very clear in saying I don't need any of that from folks who hate me and spend their time, resources, and talent trying to oppress my people and me. I don't need you to love me. I don't need you to spend time trying to understand me. If I choose to pray, I wouldn't waste that sacred time conversing about you and your hateful ways. I don't need your leaders repudiating the hatred they actually support in secret. And I certainly don't want you touching me, so there most definitely won't be any hug. What I want is for y'all to just get off us. Just leave us to be, to live, to revel in our brilliance and beauty, to weather our struggles and storms, the ones not caused by you all, with resilience, and to have equal opportunity in every aspect of life. Leave us be to blaze trails and achieve success without having to walk twice as slow because of the man-made impediments meant to keep us from moving. I don't want you to come to me and tell me how awful you feel, how you are simply shocked by all that is happening, even though not a damn thing about it is nuanced or shocking. And I don't want to hear how you just didn't see any of this coming. Don't tell me about your biracial nephew, your black coworker, or the black man who cut your grass and is ever so nice, and how you'd never think of mistreating any of these people. I don't care. What I do care about are my battered people. What I care about is seeing a man airborne after being mowed down by a racist waste of skin. What I care about is being reduced to less than human status, then being told it is my fault for challenging our oppression. What I care about is my people having a fair shot at housing, education, local politics, and employment or entrepreneurship. What I care about is our safety and our right to just breathe. What I'm not going to do is comfort you. I'm not going to place my focus on you. I'm not going to there you while I pat your back and tell you everything will be fine. I'm not going to wipe your crocodile tears, and I'm not going to nod at you sympathetically as you explain to me, not all. I'm not going to tell you I know you're one of the good ones and would never participate in the hate. I'm not going to confirm that you and I are still cool despite it all. I won't do any of this because I don't have to, and none of this is about you, even though I'm sure you think it is, because life has convinced you that most things are. Forget cries or my hand holding and song singing. Just give me my due and let me live. I am Malika Rogers, and that is the Week in Fuck.
Thank you for tuning in to Tackling Tomfoolery. I'm Malika Rogers.
I'm Francie Moore.
And I'm A.M. Lewis.
Hey, we made it. It's another week. It is a hump day. That's almost over. I guess I almost made it over the hump. And Wednesday is always better than Monday.
Yes, it is.
So I will take it. Mm-hmm.
Amen. Amen.
Well, see, I have a word for the people. On today.
I like
you have to say on today.
You always have to say on.
Preaching a sermon.
Yes.
It can't just be regular today. It has to be on today. Which I don't even know why that is a thing. But
me neither,
whatever. It's just like when people take a text. I don't even know what that means. Why didn't you don't give a text, you take it? What I feel like you're giving it to the people, aren't you?
I never thought about that.
Where are you going with it? I'm taking a text.
Take it.
No, take I don't know.
And take it away from me, Lord.
Things at church. Yeah, I caught that. Francie. And now in my mind I immediately was take it away. Take it away. Two, years of being raised in church bring up all kind of weird references. Anyway, how's everybody doing today?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm all right.
Yeah.
I'm all right.
I know about that.
Yeah. That summarizes it. And it is Wednesday. T minus 2 days from freedom, i.e. Saturday and Sunday.
Right.
I bet the weekend starts as soon as you walk out of the building.
Indeed,
That's right.
It does. And most times I don't even do anything but come home because I'm tired. But I bet you what, I'm going to wake up in the morning sleepy. Well, so I'm going to wake up sleeping. That's like waking up on my cooling board. I'm going to wake up when I feel like waking up, and then I'm going to do what I want to do.
And answer to who? No one.
No one.
Right.
Exactly.
Right. That is right. So, yes, indeed. The weekend begins Friday the minute I walk out that door. Yay! Sweet freedom.
Shout out to Black Sheep. Anyway,
who my friend saw in concert like a week ago. How about that? I was looking.
Really?
Drez looks like somebody's grandfather, and he probably is. I laughed.
I was just gonna say, yeah, wow, because that hairline was rough even back then. So I'm wondering what it's looking like on today. So anyway, we're gonna get started, I guess, with some highs and lows.
Checking out the fellas, the highs and lows.
AM, you have a low and a high to share?
Well, sure. My low is, come on.
Exactly.
We're more than a week out, yet and still the ripple effect of everything Charlottesville and that damn fool in the White House continues to be a vexation of my entire spirit. So that's my low. I don't feel like I need to really elaborate because the people know, they know. Because my low has been a bit all encompassing, my high is very low level and small. And my high is, I did not realize that there was a new season of Project Runway. And I just got it on Google Play. And soon as we have concluded recording, I'm going to watch 3 episodes. Me and my beloved Tim Gunn. That
Make it work.
That really makes me happy. It's one of the few shows that, as old as it is, I still get as excited about it as I did when it first came on. So that's going to be, we're going to make that a high because that makes me feel good right now. A little escapism.
Nothing wrong with escape.
I feel like it's not.
Everybody needs to run away right now. F, how are your highs and lows? What are you talking about on today?
Everything's going to be on today. Go,
everything.
Francie. Yeah. What up, friends?
Francie, you got some highs and lows for the people on today?
I do have some highs and lows on today. So my lows, kind of in conjunction with what we're talking about, but not so much the Charlottesville thing. Like, I don't think that the marching, even the Trump part, is not as bad to me as, the aftermath. And I just want to know when we're going to evolve to the place where people can say, listen, whether I am like a cracker-ass cracker or I'm like a poloed, khaki-suited middle manager, it's okay for me to just luxuriate in my whiteness, and that's where I'm going to sit. I'm not interested in changing it because, listen, you wouldn't leave home without it either. I just want them to be able to say that so that, and I know some people's mission is hearts and minds, but I just think it's such a distraction to worry about how crazy those crazy people are. But it's an even bigger frustration to deal with all of the people who are not raving lunatics, who are still super racist and don't want to acknowledge it. And now it's very difficult because now the middle racist people are fighting the lunatic racist people. I'm just like, you know what? It's really too much for my soul to handle. So my low has been being awash in the aftermath of these sentiments. And that doesn't mean I don't value people who are really in the fight. It doesn't mean that I'm not super encouraging of them to take up the mantle. It doesn't mean that I don't appreciate those people standing in 108-degree Phoenix. It just means it's so exhausting. So exhausting. So I'm exhausted. But my high is that, one, I don't have to work on Friday. And two, I was sort of in the middle of a situation at work. And I believed earnestly that it would end in me, one of us having to leave. So I was able to, without any damage, handle it, get her squared away, and not have to talk to her. And I'm going to just take that as my high because one, I need this little job for the next 26 days. And two, this woman was extremely condescending and irritation provoking. And so it was very nice for me to be able to be like, yeah, you know what I'm not going to do? I'm not going to mess with you anymore. So that's my high.
I like it.
Well,
they're important. Shoot.
Oh, everybody needs their dollars. Every dollar, every dime.
Mm-hmm.
Can you not hear me?
Yeah. Can you hear us?
You.
So I told the story. No, you know.
Huh?
I heard you. We heard you.
Randy.
Can you hear? Oh.
Yeah, I still hear static. Do you hear it? Oh.
She was staticky while she, there was static while she was talking.
Okay. Franzi.
Can you hear us?
Franzi.
Hello?
Can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Hello? Talk about a technical difficulty. Mm. Mm.
We're having hangout issues. Franzi has gotten disconnected about 3 times. Obviously, there's plenty of low to address, plenty of obvious lows for me to address. But because we're going to talk about some of that stuff in our main piece today, I'm going to talk about a minor low. And so writer Zadie Smith, who I feel like we have discussed on here before. But anyway, Zadie made some comments, I guess, this week about girls and women and how much time they spend on their beauty regimen. So she was upset because she felt like her 7-year-old was spending too much time in the mirror. And
7-year-old daughter, right?
Yes, 7-year-old daughter. And obviously she's 7, so she's not in the mirror like putting on some foundation and contouring her face and whatnot.
Yeah.
Obviously she's just looking at herself, I guess. There were no specifics in any of the articles I read about why she was looking at herself, which probably would have helped. But anyway, so she was bothered that her daughter was looking at herself in the mirror a lot. And so she basically said that she finds it foolish for young women, to waste time beauty and being obsessed with it. And so she told her daughter anything that takes more than 15 minutes is too long. So if you can't do whatever you're ever going to do to your face or your hair or whatever you're going to wear, if you can't put it all together in 15 minutes, you spent too much time on it. Now, look, at 7 years old, maybe I can understand this, but I think I was mostly bothered because she then compared her daughter to her son. And I don't know how old he is. I just know he's probably kind of little too. I don't know if he's older or younger, but she then brought up her son, and she said, I explained it to her in these terms. You are wasting time. Your brother is not going to waste any time doing this. Every day of his life, he will put a shirt on. He's out the door, and he doesn't give a shit if you waste an hour and a half doing your makeup. And that is kind of where I got a little salty. One, I understand people consider how women and girls are treated and how there's all this obsession about how we look and how our hair looks and how our makeup is and what we're wearing and what are the size of our bodies are. I get all of that. I understand it. And I understand trying to focus on inner qualities and not just on the outside. I understand all of that. But I don't think the outside is irrelevant. I don't think there's anything wrong with caring about how one looks as a girl or as a woman. I don't think there's anything with women who like to wear makeup. I don't think there's anything wrong with women who don't like to wear makeup. If it takes longer than 15 minutes, if she's willing to get up as an older kid, willing to get up at the crack of dawn to take on the makeup just because she likes how it looks, so what? I want to know if my kid's concerned with beauty or likes it, enjoys it, not a problem. I want to know that she's also a decent human being, that she's smart, that she's, assertive, that she represents herself well, and all that stuff. All that stuff is important to me too. But I don't feel like she has to give up one to have the other. And I don't like the idea of comparing her to her brother. That was ridiculous to me. If you're trying to champion girls and women and saying you don't have to be obsessed about how you look and think about how dope you are on the inside, then you don't take that away by comparing her to her brother. And whatever. Anyway, the shit was stupid to me. It got on my nerves. I did have a long conversation about it with some women. Lots of different ideas were shared, but most of us seem to be on the same page. And, Zadie Smith is someone who's sort of conventionally pretty. So I thought it was also interesting that she would be one to say that. I don't think nothing about her looks like she obsesses about being in the mirror or anything like that. But everybody's not Zadie Smith. And some people might feel like they need a little paint on the barn, as the pastor's wife used to say when I was a kid. So anyway, I didn't like that shit. My high. So this week, in beautiful Sacramento, California, Common did an Imagine Justice concert. It was free. There were at least 25,000 people who showed up to the concert. It was Common, J. Cole, Lettucey, Andra Day, and Guapole. And, Syncopated Ladies, the tap dance crew, and Los Caracas, some group from the Bay Area. I think I guess they count as reggaeton. So all those folks showed up to the show. Van Jones was there. Boo. But anyway, Van Jones sort of emceed it in a way. I did quietly boo him from my blanket. But anyway, the whole purpose of the concert was Common's sort of mission to kind of rail against the prison industrial complex. So the theme is like schools, not prisons, talking about how young people, particularly Black and brown ones, get sucked into the system early on and how their lives are often just ruined over something that's minor, something that could be counteracted with education, with skills, with, some sort of rehabilitation. And so anyway, that was the purpose of it. Theme, there were free t-shirts and buttons and amazing music and dope artists. And it was such a good vibe. The weather was beautiful. The people were beautiful. Everybody was cool. It was a really, really, really awesome experience. So that's my high. I just did that. Today's Wednesday. I did that Monday. So that was awesome. That's my high.
All right.
I love that.
Shout out to Common and J. Cole and Lettucey and Andrew Day and all those people. It was really, 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 really cool.
Hey, fellow tacklers. We thank you so much for listening to our show. If you're interested in supporting us, we would be ever so grateful. You can donate to the Tackling Tomfoolery podcast at patreon.com/Tackling Tomfoolery.
Anyway, so getting into our main topic, I mean, all of us have sort of mentioned what all has been going on with these protests starting in Charlottesville and then sort of working their way out to other places all over the country. And people are tearing down statues and other people are protesting in front of statues, and angry white men wearing khakis are carrying tiki torches from Walmart and hollering about their legacies, whatever those might be. And so there's a bit of an upheaval, I guess. So I like to think of this as a Charlottesville's web. But I have a lot to say, a lot that I want to talk about with you all today about it, and questions that I'm pretty sure we all have some questions, comments, and whatever to make, but less about the initial protest itself. I kind of want to talk about all the things surrounding it and sort of the fallout that has occurred since then, and all these different perspectives and whatever else. So I want to start with this morning. I was listening to NPR and they interviewed Andrew Young. And
I missed that.
I almost broke my phone listening because his perspective was that all this excitement and fussing and anger about statues is just a distraction, that the statues are not the issue. Of course, the white supremacy and the racial oppression, those are the issues. And he's afraid if people start taking down all these Confederate statues and other racially problematic statues of people, then that will mean other statues will come down, like the statue of MLK, he says. And I guess any other person of color who's done something to fight against racism or oppression or whatever. So that was his concern. And he just thought people were being silly for focusing on the statues. I do not like this is a distraction people in general. When people say that, it gets on my nerves really about anything. And I don't think anybody's just upset about statues. They're just talking about how the statues are a symbol of something, a symbol of what people are fighting against. They're not mainly concerned about the statue. It's what they represent. But anyway, so that's how I started out my morning this morning, was with him saying something I felt was incredibly disappointing. And it kind of made me think about how I've been thinking of older Black people who were maybe 50s, 60s, 70s, even involved in civil rights movement, who seem to have sat down at some point. Like, I don't feel like we ever get to stop fighting, but they've kind of sat down at some point feeling as, okay, we've accomplished some things. Now we're going to pass it to younger people. And then after they pass the baton, they fuss about who's holding it and how it's being held without ever really helping, just complaining. So anyway, I didn't like all that. What do you think? What do you guys think in terms of the statues? Do you think it's a distraction? Do you think it's just maybe one piece that people are talking about in a bigger pie, or what do you think?
I don't think it's a distraction, but like you, I'm not a distraction. It's a distraction person, generally speaking. I don't think it's a distraction. Do I think it's a core issue for the Black community? Hell no, I don't. Sure, having them there is, to put it lightly, disrespectful, because these are literally monuments to people who fought against the freedom of my ancestors, and people who look like me.
Right.
So, yeah, I'm not going to be strolling through wherever these statues, monuments are, see it and be like, all right, U.S. history, and not feel a way about it. However, I'm perturbed about the way it seems to me to seemingly be framed that this is a Black issue, when, as I've said before, I can pretty much guarantee that Black folks aren't the ones who petition for those motherfuckers to come down. This is not. If it's city council, especially in Charlottesville, it's a predominantly white town, which in description reminds me of Davis. Yeah, that wasn't Black folks who asked for that. That was white folks. It was not Black folks who turned up to protest in mass. It wasn't Black folks who turned up to protest all those dummies with the tiki torches and the polo shirts and the khakis. That's predominantly white people. This doesn't feel like my issue. I appreciate them being removed. I think they should be put someplace else. The whole argument about erasing history is stupid to me. But yeah, it's not a distraction. I don't think it's just, it is yet another facet of conflict in this country to me. Just another one of the particular conflict that we are experiencing right now. Yeah.
Oh, I have so much. So, regards to statues, I do think some symbols are important. But the question that I keep coming back to is why this is being cast as a race issue when really it should be a patriotism issue. All of these people claim that they care so deeply about America and history. It's just not typical that we would litter, particularly decades after a war happens, our country, with of the loss. You know what I mean? We don't have, we have monuments that celebrate our soldiers who died in wars, but we don't have like odes to Vietnamese folk, from, whore to general who knocked us flat in wars. It's just not what we do. And so I don't know why everyone isn't just approaching it as there's no precedence for this. The only reason for this happening is it's about being racist, and everyone should be saying this is an outrage to the country, not just like, Black people will have their feelings hurt. Very quickly, I do want to say that Andrew Young just do ridiculousness on the radio this weekend. He said that he believed he didn't want to indict the Klansmen because most of them were poor. And it's like, sir, I'm going to need you. Oh my
God. I can't.
I don't know.
New
I need to listen to this. It's ridiculous. That sounds terrible.
Yeah. And finally, I just want to say, I was thinking, Malika, along the lines of what you said about old generations versus new generations. This entire time I've been thinking about that line from A Raisin in the Sun, where Asagai talks about how in order for the revolution to keep going on, the young activists have to slaughter, the young revolutionaries have to slaughter the old ones, because the old ones, get tired and well, I think he says slit their throats or whatever, but then he says separately in a different place, behold, is this what the new world hath wrought? And that's what I just keep thinking about. This is what people wanted. This is what people wanted to see. And all of those people were like, yeah, let Trump get in so that people can see how racist it is. Yes, they can see it just like they could have seen it with any other president, and it's not changing their mind. So to me, it's costing me with no benefit.
Right.
I agree.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I'm always kind of shaking my head at the claims of, people are trying to remove our culture and remove our history, and a statue isn't a culture, and a statue isn't history. Statues are just emblematic of a historical event, of an individual, of someone's legacy. But the statue itself is not the legacy, is not the history, is not a culture. And, the very people who are crying about feeling like they are being erased because a statue is coming down are the same people who are okay with states like Texas describing slaves as workers in history books that we're reading to our children. So it's okay to erase or change, alter, lie about history if it's of no consequence to you. But anytime it seems to be stepping on the dominant culture's toes, then all of a sudden it's a problem. No one is suggesting we not know who Robert E. Lee was, whatever. We're just saying, why are we paying homage to him when there were some problems with his ideologies and his actions? But whatever. I mean, I don't know. Whatever. All that is happening is sort of getting me to such a place of disdain for people and the things they say and do. And there's always this effort to not be hateful. But I feel lightweight hateful. I do. Anyway, there's also been a lot of conversation about this is a resurgence of white supremacy and racist hate groups and whatnot. And I do want to kind of talk about that, because it's not a resurgence of anything. The people never went away. They've always been around, except for over decades, they stopped being the obvious guy or woman or child in a hood carrying a torch. And instead, they've become the person giving you your pap smear, or the person quoting you an insurance policy for your car over the phone, or the AAA driver who shows up to help you fix your flat tire when you're stuck on the side of the road. So now it's not so obvious, but there's no resurgence. They've always been there. And if you ask almost any Black person in America, they can tell you these people didn't go anywhere. It's not a resurgence. They just have been having some out in the public protests and marches and whatnot, but they've been around. They've been seething for 8 years. This man was in office with all his Blackness and his Black wife and those Black kids, and they hated it. And all of us, I don't know any Black person who did not suffer some increase in racial tension during those 8 years. I know I did. And this is partly why I feel Obama owes me the money. Like, Pay me because, brother, I suffered for you for 8 years. I'm glad you were there. That's awesome. But I suffered, and most of us did. So it's not a resurgence. It's just people feel like, I don't know, maybe their balls got just a little bit bigger because they have someone in the white people house now to sort of confirm what they believe and what they've been saying. They have someone to sort of hype their cause or whatever. And so now they just feel even more emboldened. But it's not a resurgence. They've been there all this time and they've made their presence known all this time. Just, people think a torch is a resurgence, but nah, they've been here.
Something that I think is really interesting is, and something I've always hated about Bill Maher, going back to politically incorrect, is that I hate it when people act like political correctness doesn't exist because racists needed a choke collar, right? So racists needed to be put into a place, because I frankly, personally don't care if people are racist. As long as your racism doesn't extend to hurting or harming me or mine, you can be as hateful as you want to. But I think what happened was we went through a time when people were ashamed to be racist. They didn't want to admit it. They didn't want to say it out loud. And that does exist to a certain degree. That's why no one knew what the polls were going to be. But to me, what has the unleashing, no, not a resurgence. We know these people were already there. They've been fed, and we knew that we didn't know that they were there. We knew they were there during Trump's campaign. They were the people showing up to the rallies, the people in those red hats. But I now feel so free to do such. They're so emboldened that I do worry a little bit about people's safety, what's going to happen. Because I think these random people who are thugs online are getting out in the streets. We still haven't changed the balance of the justice system or anything else. And so we always will suffer.
Right. I do think people resent being called racist more so than they have a problem with being racist. They're totally okay with being racist. They just don't want you to call it that. No, I'm just trying to protect my culture. I'm trying to preserve my legacy. I'm trying to show, my pride and my race, anything but to be called racist. Even, it could be someone who's like head of their local chapter of some white supremacist group, and they'll still be like, oh, no, I'm not racist. Well, of course you are. And I did write about this last week, kind of along the lines of what you're saying, Franzi, that I'm not looking to change minds and hearts and to be liked or respected in a certain way or revered. I don't need you to do any of that shit. I just need you to leave me alone. Don't try to impede me. Don't try to oppress me or mine. Don't bother us. That's my main thing. I don't need you to like me. My fight is not to be liked. Okay, what's up?
All right. On with the show. Where were we?
I don't know. Anybody can start talking now because I finished a thought, whatever that thought was.
Shit.
And so if somebody else got something to say. South got something to say.
I'm trying to remember what the thread of the conversation was. We were talking about
I think I ended it with talking about following up from Franzi discussing people not wanting to be called racist, even if they're racist.
Oh, yes, I do have.
And then I said some shit about that, and then so go ahead.
Yeah, I believe it's unpopular to be racist. That is why so many Republicans and Trump supporters got in their feelings about being called racist for voting for Trump, because no one wants to be called that. And because no one wants to be called that, and no one wants to be, well, few people want to be that, they don't want to consider whether there's any validity in the fact that they might be bigoted or racist. That, and as I've said, I'm pretty sure to both of you before, racism it's not as clearly defined as I'm going to say as a lot of white people think it is. You know, they think of it as you're not saying slurs, you're not wishing ill on anyone of a different race. They think of it as larger than life, when, you know, we all know about microaggressions and the subtleties that lie in that have evolved into racism. You cannot hire Jeff Sessions and Steve Bannon and what's that one weird looking white guy, Steven somebody.
The one who looks like a cheap tooth.
Yes, he's creepy looking to me.
He looks like a Q-tip, but like the brand the off-brand you buy.
Yeah.
When you don't buy Q-tips, you just buy cottony sticks or whatever.
You can't surround yourself with those people and not have me think that you are racist. You can't. So, yeah, it's hugely unpopular, but any rational person who's not defensive and who's willing to call those things as they are can see it. And one of the things I think about, you know, the fallout, one of the things that Charlottesville signified to me was, yes, people still don't necessarily want to be called racist, but the people who kind of are like, yeah, it is what it is. I believe in nationalism. I believe in protecting my community and defending my community, have been emboldened by Trump. It's not a resurgence. That's ridiculous. These people are thinking what they've always thought. It is, they are emboldened. And I think what's one of the things that's most shocking, like, I guess, apparently when Andrew Young was saying he feels bad for the Klan because they're poor, the pictures that we saw coming out of Charlottesville did not look like poor people. They look like young white collar men. And if anything, I think that was one of the other shocking things for a lot of people, was it wasn't your stereotypical, you know, Southern, trailer parky looking, big bellied Dukes of Hazzard white man.
Well, I think that's why so many don't want to be called racist, is because they have in their minds that picture. And so they think because they're not, you know, fucking their cousin, that they can't possibly be one of those people.
Yeah.
And like saying, those people, a lot of them don't live in Charlottesville or around Charlottesville. They got on planes. They booked flights. They rented cars.
Right.
They paid money. You know,
right.
They booked a hotel so they could go somewhere to be racist, all be racist together. That costs money. So certainly there's I think there have always been different classes of people, that people in different socioeconomic groups who've all been racist, just employed different methods of it. And I think that's even more evident now. And people try to distance themselves from that stereotype by saying, well, I'm not racist because I'm not that. But you are still racist. Racist has nothing to do with wearing overalls and, I don't know, blowing on a jug on your porch to make music. That has nothing to do with racism.
Yeah. Yeah. So I do think that there was I had people show up on my page. I had 2 white guys show up on my page saying, literally, I really thought racism was dying out.
Oh, God.
I swear it to you. They did. I really thought it was dying out. And I see now that I was wrong. And I was like, that's, I wouldn't have even said that in public forum. So, hey, good on you. But I do understand. I do understand. And it's that privilege. You don't have to know that racism was still a thing if you are not someone who can be subject to racism. You don't have to know. You didn't go about your white life.
Yeah.
Feeling like everything is intact and everything is wonderful and the world is ideal if you don't have to be subject to it. If you have to be subject to it, if you run the risk of being subject to it, even in its mildest forms, that shit hasn't gone anywhere. Right. So I don't know, maybe it's a wake-up call for some white people. I don't know if they're going to do anything. I don't know that they're going to feel compelled to try to affect any kind of change. So I don't know. And then the other thing I wanted, as soon as I opened my mouth, it went away. I opened my mouth and the thought fell out and tumbled under my bed. I don't know where it went. I'll come back to it when I think about it. I hate it.
I listened to the Charlottesville Code Switch show, and I heard on that show a woman that I used to teach with. And so I dropped a note in her inbox, and we started talking, and she was saying that one of her frustrations with the whole event was that they'd been warning both the university and the police department how big the event was going to be. They were saying, we have access to this information, and we know that this will probably outpace anything that you're anticipating, and you need to be ready, and you need to do this. And I know that they did change the venue at the last minute, and then that was petitioned or whatever. But she was saying that the lack of response from both parties just was really discouraging. And she said, she thought laid the foundation for, some of the violence that happened. And I was thinking, for all of the people who are saying, this is not racism, this is, look at all those people, people, and people are different. This is not us, hashtag this is not us. It's
girl.
Look at systemic reactions. Look at the difference between what the police did in Charlottesville and what the police did to the protesters in Charlottesville and what they did to the protesters last night in Phoenix. You know what I mean? Yeah, look at the difference in how people get carted away. It just, I don't want to argue anymore about things that can be proven. It's like, remember when B.O.B. came out and was like, I believe the world is flat. And it's like, we don't have to rehash this argument because this is one that you certainly don't have new evidence for. And this has been in the books forever,
Right.
Yeah.
I've been, in the past week or so, I have been hearing increased conversations about ally. And I'm starting to hate that word. But it's cute when we're talking about superheroes or shit. But right now, it is a word that seems to bring some irritation to me. And I'm thinking that when it comes to those white people who clearly know what is happening, can see it, have no problem acknowledging it, and have no problem talking about how wrong it is. That's nice. And I appreciate people who check their people who can't see it or who are contributing to racism in some kind of way. What I don't want anymore and don't care to discuss with any more white people is the look at me, I'm over here trying to help. And because I'm trying to help, you shouldn't check me. I literally had a conversation online yesterday with a white man who told me that when white people are trying to be allies and they're trying to, check their friends and family and neighbors and whatever about their racist behavior, if they make a misstep that somehow implies they might be a part of the group they're trying to check, we shouldn't check them. We should just be glad they're trying to help. I just said basically, look, if you're a white person who's privy to what is going on and you have no problem talking to others about it and telling them when they are wrong, then you should also have no problem with a person who's experiencing the thing that you're talking about telling you when you need to tighten up your message. You take your edification, you hone your message, and then you go back and you keep talking to your people. I have no interest in coddling or kissing the ass of anybody who considers him or herself an ally of some sort. And I think one of the reasons I have a problem with them being called allies is because it doesn't make you an ally. You should just be a decent fucking human being. You should speak against shit because you're decent and you know it's wrong. I'm not giving you a cookie. I'm not giving you a high five. I am not giving you a hug. I'm not telling you how much I appreciate your message and your truth. I'm not doing any of that shit. You should be doing the things you do because they're right. I don't need anybody to pat me on the back for calling bullshit on racism. I do that shit, one, because I'm often the target of it, but two, because the shit's wrong. And as a person who I'd like to think has some integrity and decency about herself, I just do that because that's what people should just do. Not because I need someone to pat me on the back and tell me good job and tell me they appreciate me. I am not coddling anybody that way. I refuse. That ain't no good job. You should just do that shit because that's what good people do. And if you think you're a good person, then you just do the shit. Ugh. I'm sick of it. Ain't no allies there.
I feel like that dovetails really neatly into this discussion about former neo-Nazis talking about how what really brought them over to the bright side was people who approached them with kindness and treated them as human beings. And that really is the way that we're going to, again, win hearts and minds. And so to me, it's like, that sounds like a job for a missionary. And as I have a job doing something else, that is not the job for me. I'm so happy for the people who are willing to indulge your hatred, but I don't think that I should have to do it. And I do think that one of the few benefits of right now is that I honestly feel like I can say in me, especially online, I feel like I can say anything I want to and I fear no repercussions because I feel like I am entitled. I can say whatever I want to, and I don't usually say things that don't make sense, but sometimes I feel things that don't make sense, and I don't mind saying it, and I'll add, and it doesn't make sense, so don't ask me about it, but this is how I feel. Now get on. That's how I feel about life right now.
I said what I said.
There have been a couple of times where I've read things. I remember several months ago, I read this piece by some woman who was saying, it was basically how I came out of my white ashiness, which I'm using. Ashiness has come for me to just be a term that indicates wrong-headed thought, period. I made it myself. But how she had gone from not understanding white privilege or anything to understanding it. And she was saying, I used to lurk on these message boards and in these groups. And I never said anything, but I was always reading. And the people who were angry and shouty weren't the ones who got through to me. It was the people who were kind and patient and willing to explain such and such and such. And I had the same reaction to that I had to the piece that Francie is talking about. Was a video with these former neo-Nazis, saying, I marched a lot. And one guy was like, when I marched a lot and I never got hit upside the head with a rock and thought, oh, I need to change my thinking. No, it was the people who treated me like human beings. And everything in me rose up, flipped the double bird and was like, fuck you, dude. And the thing is, I believe that is very true. There's a certain kind of coddling that we're supposed to be. You know, the people who are oppressed are always expected to be forgiving and merciful and kind. And I am not going to spend not one moment placating people while I talk about the grotesque horrors performed upon us as a people. I'm not going to make nice the shit that there was nothing nice about when it went down. I'm not going to. Fuck your feelings. Fuck you. I'm going to say it how I say it. And that is going to be it. You can take it or you can leave it. I don't care. I don't care. What my responsibility is to myself is to be out there telling them truth. However anybody receives it, I'm not responsible for that. All I know is I'm not mammy. I'm not holding anybody to my damn breast while I tell these truths that are difficult and painful because you've been in some kind of cocoon and it's all new. It's new and shocking and hurtful to you that your people would ever do something like that. Your people being white people would ever do something like that, would ever commit such crimes against humanity. That's not for me. That's not for me to worry about. I refuse. Sorry. I'm not doing it. Fuck that.
You know, that is primarily the reason why now when people, I find a lot of people preface what they have to say about racism with, I don't hate white people. And I refuse to preface anything I say with that. I'm not prefacing shit. I don't owe any explanation about that shit. I had 2 white people, and that's probably the first time it's ever really happened to me. 2 white people in a fairly recent time. So it's probably about 2-3 months ago. Well, it just seems like you hate white people. You trash talk white people in your writing. And so I just feel like, and I told them if they wanted to know what I think, they should just ask me. But what I'm not going to do is have I don't hate white people conversation. I'm not going to do that. I don't owe that shit to anybody. I'm never going to have that conversation. I'm never going to preface anything I say with that. There will be no disclaimers about anything I say or anything I write about. I'm not going to do any of that shit ever again. Maybe I've done it once or twice in my youth, but now on today and moving forward, I'm not ever going to say that. If you don't know what I'm talking about, then you just don't fucking know. But I'm not going to explain that shit any further. And I'm not going to tell you, hate white people. I'm not doing it ever again.
And why do you guys get to own? Why do you guys get to own crazy behavior with no attached sentiment? And I'm not even saying, Malika, that your behavior is crazy, but it's like, okay, so you can vote for Trump on economic interest only,
right,
and not be a racist.
Right.
But I say these things actually happen in life, and this is my reading of it. But I have to hate people. Get out of here. You're not ready. You're not ready, because I will say, if in any way white mainstream America got hit with what minorities have been hit with for the last life of America, they would die.
There's no way. Yeah, there's no fucking way. At all.
Not at all.
Not.
No.
No, the gnashing of teeth and rending of garments and the whatever would be historically epic and epically historic. And no.
And no, I don't have a sponge to squeeze out a little something onto your tongue. I don't.
No, it wouldn't. It wouldn't. And I really think that's the fear. all of what's going on with regard to white nationalism and blah, 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 has to do to me with fear. There's this fear that the brown people are coming and they're going to take everything. And in terms of Black people, I really do believe that there's a fear that what they visited upon us is going to be visited upon them in however way that could possibly play out. And yeah, they know they don't want it. They know they don't want it. They don't want it. Period.
They don't. Not at all.
No. Mm-mm. So
I think we've basically established that one, on today, we're not here for the fuck shit.
Nope.
On any day.
Not a little bit.
Not on any day. Two, we're not going to explain ourselves any further on why we are not here for the fuck shit.
Mm.
Three, anyone who doesn't understand that can get the fuck on with that fuck shit.
Mm-hmm.
So, and from there, I'm going to get off into some shout outs.
Oh. All right.
As we discussed prior to recording, we all had the same shout out, which has never happened to us.
But you know why?
Well, I do know why.
Say it.
No, you say it. I'm going to let you say it.
You know what? You say it. Alicia, you say it. It was really good. Because Black Girls Rock!
Yes, they do!
So much so.
So one time a year, I watch BET, which I vehemently hate, is to watch Black Girls Rock. And because I got distracted and got my dates confused, I thought it was coming on tonight, but it came on last night. Mm. But because it was recorded weeks ago, I had, most of us had the inside track on through Instagram and Twitter and Facebook kind of what happened
right.
on that night. And so I'm excited to actually watch it from beginning to end as opposed to just seeing bits and pieces and clips and all of that. But look, Black Girls Rock. They just fucking do. These are 3 Black women on this here podcast, and we all rock. And I'm sure the women on that show, I already know they rock because every year they pull out all the stops. It's always a great show. It is the only great show that comes on BET, as far as I'm concerned. And the only time I will turn on that channel is to watch Black Girls Rock. And I am so excited to see it. So shout out to all those women. Shout out to Taraji P. Henson, who posted it. Shout out to Auntie Maxine, just because it's Auntie Maxine.
Yeah. And Taraji's hair.
Oh,
love it.
The game. I love it.
God dang, the cut, the color. Oh,
flawless.
Absolutely.
It is a great thing.
If I may sub shout out, and it rolls nicely into this. I thought about something. I would like to shout out the return of Insecure, which has been everything I need in my life on a Sunday afternoon or a Monday morning when I watch it. And it dovetails nicely into Black Girls Rock because it is, written and created by a Black woman. It's a Black female centric storyline. It's just everything good and right about Black creativity and Black women and the realities of this Black ass life. You know what I mean? Love it. Glad it's back. Shout out to Insecure.
Shout out to all the Black men showing their Black asses.
Oh, literally?
Because those have been some magnificent asses, and I have appreciated every last one of them.
As have I.
Mm-hmm.
Truly, it's a treat. It's a feast for the eyes.
This is the resurgence of Black tail.
Black tail magic, too.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Seriously speaking, though, I know people always talk about representation and how important it is, but I know that to be true, and I don't always feel the deficit. But in times such as these, I think I said earlier that both of these things that we're talking about are kind of life affirming, where you just settle into a place where you do not have to worry about anything else. And you might disagree with, maybe you think that they should be representing condom wear, or maybe you think, so-and-so shouldn't have worn that dress, or maybe whatever, but it just is a safe place. And I think in real life, those are becoming few and far between.
I completely agree. So shout out to Issa Rae and all the writers, all the actors on the show. Thank you for bringing us something to see. Ourselves.
And feel.
And it doesn't even matter if we're not in the age range of the characters, we're not in the economic range of the characters, we don't live in the same place as the characters. There's something relatable to me for everyone. Every Black woman for sure. And I think a lot of Black men too in that show. And I appreciate being able to see it. I was surprised. Last night we were combing through the DVR, which is full of stuff. And I asked my boyfriend, what do you want to watch? He was like, oh, let's watch Insecure. So I have gotten him hooked on it.
Nice.
And I'm excited about that because now we can watch something besides ESPN or those people who go around from house to house buying antiques. So
hopeful.
Yeah, I'm feeling good about that.
Right.
Anyway, we thank you so much for listening to another episode of Tackling Tomfoolery. I am Malika Rogers.
I'm Francie Moore.
And I'm A.M. Lewis.
Tackling Tomfoolery is produced by Bren Inman for Evergreen Talent Collective. For more information, find us on the web at www.tacklingtomfoolery.com, on Facebook at Tackling Tomfoolery, and on Twitter and Instagram. Subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, or SoundCloud, and make sure you rate and review the show as that helps people find us. If you'd like to contact the show, email us at tacklingtomfoolery@gmail.com or leave us a voicemail at 916-573-1065. Let us know what tomfoolery you're tackling. Thank you for listening, and we'll talk to you soon.